Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Brian and my cool special super coach, Lisa Marie Thomas. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to
Hello.
our continuing half-hour series. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
No, I'm saying hey.
So we're really excited. Today, we're going to talk specifically about the saboteurs of being restless and victim. And I'm sure nobody's experienced these. Of course, we all have. And I know for a long, long time, we've had, I know for me, I was stuck in victim role and took me a while to figure out how to get through that. And then, of course, later on in life through PQ reps, it became a lot easier. Remember all 10 saboteurs that we'll be talking about. And again, we want you to circle your calendars for November 4th at 8:30 Pacific. November 4th, we're going to do a 90-minute webinar / training to help you through each of the saboteurs. And we will give you some specific steps to help you rewire and control and lessen the impact of these saboteurs. And I was looking at emails with Lisa last week. We did a quick demonstration, feel the ridges on your fingers and breathe and focus. And many of you are going through what we went through when we went through the PQ training ourselves. And PQ is just a subset of positive intelligence, which was the first week is this really going to work? Is it going to do anything? What do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. And then we got into the second week of training and the third week of training. And then because Lisa and I are both going through certification in our cohort, we were like, well, wait a minute. How do we start coaching? And how do we start using this? And how do we do this? And how do we do that? And that's the hypervigilant and the restless. And we're going to talk about the restless saboteur this morning too. So we're giving you short bursts in this half hour. Remember, this is backed by 25 years of factor analysis studies, and we want to focus in on little bits and pieces to have you practice here. We want to, of course, entice you. We're not selling anything today or next week. November 4th, we're going to give you an opportunity to join Lisa and I in a coaching program. And we believe that if you spend 90 minutes with us on November 4th, or watch that replay, you will absolutely not only see the value, but want to jump in to do 4 things. Reduce the impact of the saboteurs, live less stressful, absolutely be happier day to day, and as our focus will be, how to stop that yo-yo dieting or keep the weight off. So we're focusing on 2 groups. If you haven't had bariatric surgery and want to lose weight and keep it off, we're going to share with you the habits and tools you need to do that. If you've had the bariatric surgery, how do you stop the regain and keep moving forward? This whole program will be focused on getting you to move forward with, I'm going to say, a completely different outlook. And that's really odd for me to say, because even in tough times, I'm optimistic, but my wife will tell me it's magical thinking because there isn't a plan. It's like you can be optimistic, but if you don't implement things. And so this program will help you not do that. Would you like to share more, Lisa? Do you want to add anything to that, Lisa?
Exactly. And our thought was in these little short snippets. Yeah, I don't know how we froze. There we go. Little short snippets, little short tools, but that make you feel successful, even though the saboteurs in your mind might be saying, that's not going to work. Having that little bit of success and going, okay, what's more to this? And there's a lot more to it, more in depth. but we didn't want to bombard everybody and try to cram it in such a short time. But we know the benefit of it, because each time you do this, each time you hear this information, it sinks in a little bit more, and your body and your mind becomes open and receptive to having that change. And it's quite amazing. That it's just amazing. So that's why we're doing these little snippets to show you what is available. And then the 90-minute class, a lot more detailed. And then we'll give you other information after that. So let's dive in.
With that, yeah. So with that, daily practice. So that's what we're going to offer you. And I'm putting in the comments, you can all take the saboteur quiz. It's free. You will get the results, not Lisa and I. So after you take the quiz, if you want to send us the results, and then we'll book a time and help talk to you about what your assessment means. And you'll be getting a lot of information for free from the positive intelligence community. So let's jump into it. I want to jump in, Lisa, if you don't mind, with my favorite saboteur, because it impacted me greatly. So the victim saboteur. The victim saboteur is emotional, temperamental, and we use that tool as a way to gain attention and affection and sympathy. And it is an extreme focus on ourselves, our feelings, particularly, we can't talk this morning, painful ones. And literally, you can appear to others over time, if you don't quell this, as woe is me and the martyr, and why is the world coming down on you and no one else, and why do these bad things happen? So what does that look like in extreme ways, or even little bits? I will tell you, it's the most difficult saboteur to quell. It requires the next level up of thinking, which is getting out of the saboteur role and using what we call sage thinking. And you're going to use empathize and navigate. You are going to give yourself empathy rather than beating yourself up. And what does the victim role do? It leads to isolation. And I'm sure none of you have experienced this next one, comfort eating. And it is a false comfort, because when you're stuck in the victim role, it doesn't last. So we keep eating more. And with PQ reps that we'll be sharing with you, but sage thinking, we're going to use three things: empathy for yourself, compassion, and then it's called the activate muscle to change those feelings right now. And I'll give you one example, and then I'll let Lisa jump right in. So when I was in grad school, I had a lot going on. Real fast. So my parents were divorcing. Grad school in general is very stressful. Was living on my own, doing a job, doing an internship, going to school. And I kept wondering, why aren't I getting the financial aid package in my mailbox? Why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? Why is this professor doing this? And everybody perceived it as the victim role. Now, we were lucky in grad school. We were required to be in therapy every year of the program. So I told my therapist, I said, look, I'm giving people the wrong impression. This is not really me at my best. I need help getting out of this right now. So it took a couple of months. We're going to show you how to get out of this in a few weeks, believe it or not. And I got out of that role. Now, what was really cool is by the time I got to my fourth year and my fifth year postdoc internship, there were people who were experiencing the same thing. It's like little things weren't getting in their mailbox. They weren't communicating with professors. And so I got out of the victim role by taking action. So I told my previous colleagues and current colleagues, the way you get out of this is take action. So I'd like you all to think, if you're in the victim saboteur, if you're feeling the world's just coming down on me, I feel lousy, I don't see a way out, why are these things happening to me? One simple step to take is, what's an action step I can take right now to move forward, to change something? It could be as simple as 5 minutes of exercise. That'll change your mindset and your mood immediately. It could be having compassion for yourself. It's like, instead of beating myself up, what's something I can do to move forward to shake this up? Lisa, would you like to comment more on that?
Well, sometimes even just changing your physical location and moving from where you are, sitting in that moment, uh, figuratively or actually, getting up and moving to change what you're doing, where, what you're looking at, what you're listening to, what you're, what you're doing. That in itself is a movement to change. That in itself will start activating the different things in your body. Then, in that is when you're coming along and asking that question of what you could be doing. It will come to you. Something will come to you. And it'll be really quick and it'll be really tiny, because then the saboteur is going to be like a big umbrella and say, no, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter. Every time you do this, you just fail and nobody's going to help you. You're the only one going through this. It just doesn't make sense. You can try and try and try. That saboteur is going to repeat those words over and over and over in 20 different ways. But getting up and moving to activate that word again, to activate the ability to start saying, but what can I do? And I'm telling you, if you just start and then do your PQ reps at the same time, do your fingers together or all of your fingers. As you're doing that, because you're bringing your focus away from all of the noise going on down to here, you'll hear that little small voice that'll say, you can do this or try this. And you just have to try it. You really do. It takes practice. It takes practice in doing it over. Something that I notice with the victim mentality is that saboteur wants you to be the martyr and, fall on the sword for all these different things, but you be the spotlight, but not quite the spotlight so that anybody knows you're in the spotlight. But it's, I'm sure you can experience, I'm sure you can relate. We've all had it at times because we've all experienced some type of trauma or victim thing in our past, and it's okay. It's okay. And we will, in the bigger course, show you, even in those moments of being a victim and getting caught in that saboteur, there's an opportunity. There's a lesson. There are things that you can do, or at least acknowledge, that will move you away from that saboteur. And we're so excited for you because it is. It's just amazing to let that go.
I'm seeing in some of the comments, and I went through this when we were going through the training, but I've gone through this in my life. So let's just do a life example. So on Monday morning, about a month ago, I found out I had a fraudulent charge with my bank. I figured, okay, I'll call them on the way to work. I walk outside and I have a flat tire. And then I get a text that I've got a crisis client at the clinic I'm working at. And my first mindset is, it's all rolling downhill, da 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 da. It's like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to take action now. And the judge saboteur for some of you right now is saying, this won't work. It does work. It sounds simple, but many of us do not, just with whatever we're faced, we don't ask a question. Asking a question starts that rewiring. It starts you in a different mindset to take action. So I said, what can I do right now to solve this? I told him, my situation. I'm lucky. I live in a rural community. So there's one AAA service, and it was 5:30 in the morning, so they came right away. I called my bank, and I had to make sure that when I said I have a fraudulent charge, they immediately were going to shut down my account. And I said, no. Let me go to an ATM so I can get cash out, to get gas, because that's what I do Monday morning on the way to work. Then you could shut the account down and FedEx me a new card. And that, normally that would have triggered me. It's like, what else is wrong? Is my wife upset with me? Why do these things happen? And we just cycle into pity. And so by asking, what can I do to get out of this? What's one thing I could do to change how I feel right now in the moment? Really, really helps. So before we move on, Lisa, did you want to add anything else?
Somebody else was trying to get in, and I'm trying to send them the link. Sorry. No,
Okay.
I totally agree. And I remember that day because we communicated, and it sometimes just saying it out loud makes all the difference versus keeping it all in your head, because that's where the saboteurs live. That's where the judge lives. That's where they live. Getting it out and asking that question is amazing.
Right. So one of the things we want you to get is negative emotions are only helpful for a second as an alert. Negative emotions are there as a warning. And when you stay in the negative emotion, it hurts your ability to see clearly and respond with the 5 sage muscles: empathy, curiosity, creativity, and laser focused action. So for right now, we want you to practice laser focused action and a little bit of empathy for yourself. How can I snap out of this moment? Which brings us, before we run out of time, the restless saboteur, another powerful and perfect combo with the victim. The restless saboteur, constantly in search of greater excitement or the next activity or the next busyness. Now you're wondering, well, if it's woe is me and I'm victim, how does restless pair up with that? It keeps you in a state of you're not satisfied. So if you're never satisfied, it's easy to stay in the victim role. It's easy to keep the judge present, that nothing's ever good enough. And on top of that, when you're in restless mode, it increases your anxiety and tension level. It interferes completely. It short circuits your ability to be not only satisfied, but happy. So again, we want you to activate a sage muscle, which for the restless saboteur is curiosity. What else is out there for me? What can I do? Now, this is really important. I want you all to focus on this. And Lisa and I have practiced this over and over when it's been stressful and brutal and hard. Focus on what you're doing right now. You're just listening to us. Be in the moment. And if you can focus on in the moment, is this interesting information? Are we at least laughing at ourselves? Are we having a little fun with this? Focus on the moment. Focus on the next minute. And when you do that, that's being here and now. That's what you hear about mindfulness a lot of the time. And I found mindfulness to be different levels of understanding that. But if you focus on the art of being in the now, focusing on what can I do right now? Because if you're focused on the next webinar or going to lunch or the kids while you're listening to us, the information goes right over our head. And I'm not accusing you. I've done that too. When you focus on the moment, you have laser focus. Answers come to you. It's easier to move out of that. But more importantly, you start to enjoy what you're doing. And that's what restless and victim interfere with. It doesn't let you enjoy what you're doing. It lets you do blame and beat up and get into the judge and focus on, I can't do this. And so we reach the simplest solution: curl up and sleep, ignore responsibilities, or eat comfort foods, which are not necessarily good for us. There are a lot of healthy, good alternatives, which we'll be sharing with you. But, you know, how hard is it to drink a glass of water? Because if you do that and ask, what can I do to get out of it? Just by having a glass of water, asking that question
Yep.
shifts your mood instantly. And if you just start doing that throughout today, anytime you start a little bit of woe is me, or you're not focused on, hey, what is my kid doing right now? Or what is the conversation I'm listening to right now? And what's a big difference between men and women? Women are intuitive and focused on feelings. Men go to logic and try to solve things. So what's the biggest complaint between men and women is my wife knows instantly when we're talking on the phone. She says, are you doing something else or are you listening to me? And I have to stop what I'm doing because I try to multitask and then I can't focus on what she's telling me. And then I get appropriate comeuppance. So,
Right.
it's simple stuff like that. But when you're at work, or you're doing something important and you're not focused on the moment, that restless saboteur wants you to keep looking for the next thing. You will not be satisfied. You will not get to happiness. You will increase your stress because you're constantly on the lookout. So, Lisa, you can add in. Didn't mean to go on a rant, but it's
I
my
think
favorite
that
song.
that's right. I was going to say I can relate to this one, and it is the one that it really does go with the victim so much. Example, you start a project. You think, "Oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna clean out a closet." Right away, your judge is going to throw some things out there of, anything from you never finish what you start. You people aren't going to want your things. You The thrift stores already have too many things. Whatever. The judge is going to throw the things out. And you're going to ignore it because you're like, "No, I need to do this." The restless will while you're the restless is almost like having ADHD because you start to focus on something, and as soon as it gets boring or dull or something doesn't go right, you instantly go, "Okay, well, how about maybe the front closet? Because I can do that, or the silverware drawer, or whatever." And it is they go together because as soon as you start to do it, and if it doesn't go the way you're thinking, or it becomes overwhelming, then your victim pops in. It's almost like they're twins, and instead of good and bad, they're like back and forth. But if you can, in that moment, or even before that moment, what could I do to make this easier? What could I do to make this better? What could I do to finish this project? A lot of people who suffer from the restless saboteur have a lot of unfinished projects around. The woulda, coulda, shouldas. They've got things everywhere, and it's it's a saboteur that is probably a little more deep rooted than well, they all are really, but it's one that is a little more challenging to focus on. But if you do, like we said, you ask that question, okay, what can I do to move forward? What can I do to finish this? Just asking that question already puts the thinking process in, already puts something into action that then when you finish that project, woohoo, accomplishment, which also then lessens the victim because you finished a project. And it just kind of piles on each other in the good way. Uh, it's an incredible saboteur, but it's also one that gives us a lot of different opportunities to learn from it, to be able to go, "Oh, hey, okay, there you are, restless. Nope, time out. I'm going to go get a drink of water. Okay, what can I be doing while instead to finish this thing?" You'll get the answer and you move towards that and do that. And even in the middle of it, when you start to feel that anxiety and that stress and that of it, and then you hear the victim voice over here, stop for just a second, take a deep breath, asking yourself, okay, what could I do different? What could I be doing in this moment? Or doing the little rep of getting that sensation to come here. It'll come and you'll be more peaceful. You'll be more relaxed. You'll be more focused. You'll be able to have kind of a sage medication for that moment of, I call it very ADD or ADHD. It's just very sporadic, but it can be quelched, and it can be, lessened and made something that can be good for us coming up in the future. I love that one. I mean, as much as I hated it at first, I love it because it does allow me to go time out. What are you doing? What can you do? And then I just focus on kind of what's right here in my personal space. Do that, and then you can expand out. But don't try to take on a mountain.
Right.
And if you have already taken on a mountain, the sage thinking is what will help you take the chunk out of it, not demolish the whole thing, right?
Yes, and it's the old
I saw
phrase,
you had a
how
thought.
do you eat an elephant, or how do you eat a pizza? Well, in my pre-weight loss days, I
Right.
eat the whole pizza, but it's one bite at a time. So Lisa and I want you to take 3 action steps today. First action step, circle November 4th. We're going to send out the link next week to join our 90-minute webinar on November 4th. Share it with friends. Second action step, we're going to do the same thing next Saturday. We're going to talk at 8:30 for focusing on 2 more saboteurs that I think are intriguing. So get excited. We're going to focus on opposites, but they do pair together, the controller and the avoider. So don't avoid us. Come next Saturday. And today, write down 2 action steps you can take to do something different than your normal routine. Just for today. 2 things you can do different than your normal routine today. So 2 things different than you can do in your normal activities today. Okay. So take those 2 action steps. Feel free to email Lisa Marie or myself, and we're glad to respond. I'll put the saboteur quiz link in one more time so that if you haven't taken that already, you can take that quiz for free. Again, Lisa and I do not get the results. They come directly to you, and you can share those results with us if you want, and we'll schedule an appointment to go over what it all means and how it impacts you. And then I think we'll take it from there. So last time we ran overtime. I think today we can end on time. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. We'll hang on for a couple more minutes, because I know people have busy times on Saturday, even though this is life-changing. So, all right.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Thank you.
So
Thank
again,
you for taking your morning to join us.
Yeah. Circle November 4th. We'll see you next week covering 2 more saboteurs, and we'll send out the link next week to everybody for November 4th to register. Additionally, take 2 action steps different than your normal routine today and let us know. I'm positive you will notice a complete difference in your mindset, mood, and how you how you feel throughout the day, even though I can't talk. So everybody have a great day. We're going to end the stream. Contact us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or email us, and we'll go from there. Have a great, great Saturday.